The Tampa Bay poetry scene is one of the most underrated and diverse scenes you will find in the nation.
Document this dog crazy sitcom I call a life with limited commercial interruptions in hopes that you'll see the message amidst the strategically placed humor like, look at you, now look at us.
Schoolhouse doors have often been carved into cookie-cutter formations.
Or maybe his theology, because they forced him to his knees and he's praying, God, please don't let him take my only books because we don't got the money to replace them.
We are really in the process of trying to grow our poetry scene so that we can attract people that aren't even into poetry. I'm a firm believer that the real true strength and testament to the power of spoken word is your story and your poems being able to draw people that don't even like poetry.
My lights or my water, because her lack of guidance has her believing that the same government that hates us should raise up her sons and daughters. I think they call that trickle-down economics on my block.
Well, what got me into poetry was kind of everything else in my life kind of fell out. At the time, I was living off of student loans and things like that, so I was losing the house that I was in, and I was kind of in a real crazy position because it was my second time going to school, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to be in life, and then I've always liked rapping, and poetry was always something I was into when I was younger.
Because they must know, just like I know, that children give hope. So if there's no children, there's no hope.
Even though I didn't spit or speak outside of myself or my small circle, so I decided to go to an open mic. Man, I met this guy on the bus actually, Mike Larry Draw. He took me to his open mic. He had a really small one, but then somebody at his open mic showed me to Sacred Sound, which was a slam, and it was literally the next day. And they were I had 2 poems that I had written from creative writing class, and then and a rap that I turned into a poem. And I had walked from my house to the slam scene, and I did the slam, my first slam, and I ended up tying for first place with my first time slamming with some really dope local poets. You know what I'm saying? So it was really just kind of, that's how it happened, you know what I mean? That's why I feel like, once you fall into certain things in life, they just you can't avoid it much, you can't avoid what you're called to do.
Not everyone is a straight A student. Not everyone can make a high score on the SAT or the ACT, but also not everyone's a great football player or a basketball player or volleyball player. Not everyone is athletically inclined. And so for those young people that oftentimes fall between the cracks of not being, a straight A student or not being athletically inclined, what happens to them? And what are their stories? And how do we engage them? Because the majority of our students and the majority of our young people, they fall between those cracks. And so I think that the arts is a very critical component in helping to get those young people involved, so that they don't grow up as broken adults that are still trying to find themselves. Usually crowds are very supportive, and they're very supportive of the artists because the artists come from the crowd. And the idea is that we want to create an atmosphere where any individual, regardless of their education or background, their social or racial status, that they feel comfortable enough to share their experiences, which is what the open mics are really all about. Not about showcasing the literal dexterity, which is obviously great, but more than anything, we want to provide a social platform for individuals to be able to express some of the challenges and issues that they're walking through, and hopefully combat and deal with them in a positive way.
Force the face forward, but this is the only important direction. Pay attention. Sit down. Be quiet. Raise your hand. No talking. Face forward. Eyes on your own paper. Don't talk to your neighbor. Can you hear the subtitles?
A poet I met here in Tampa a few years back, she has a piece about what inspires her, and she has a line in it saying, "It's what puts you to bed and wakes you." And so I took that to mean the imperatives, what are the things that you cannot stop thinking about. So when you wake up in the morning, when you go to sleep at night, when you're walking around during the day, what do you have a connection with? What can you not stop wanting to change? And I think that describes very accurately what I end up writing about. So it's usually feminism or experiences that I've had as a woman trying to interact in the world and have people take me seriously. And then I also write a lot about education. I'm a teacher, and so I work with both high school and college students, and so I write a lot about education and working with students. And then I think also about just changing up an attitude from being focused on the negative to being focused on the positive instead, and just being aware of our language and the impact that it has.
I dream of peace that passes all understanding. I dream of peace that passes all understanding. Of a life that cuddles and holds instead of screaming and demanding.
I think that as we, again, make a commitment to helping to show how spoken word and poetry is a critical and important way of providing a voice for people that oftentimes will not have a voice, I think that's how we'll grow. And I think that's the right way to be able to attract the right people, which is everyone, to getting involved in spoken word poetry.